Community and Wellbeing Officer. The Community and Wellbeing Officer represents students on issues affecting their well-being, such as health, finance, accommodation and security, as well as wider community issues. The Community and Wellbeing Officer is key to ensuring that students from a range of backgrounds and minority groups are represented within the university. They also ensure that students are represented fairly within the local community, liaising with both town and parish council officials.
Hello, I'm Amaani and I'm joined here by Izzy Mae. Hello, Izzy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So, just so listeners are aware, obviously we might be talking about some things that may refer to charities involving sexual violence, and so if you are sensitive to that, it's just a bit of a content warning to tune out maybe for that sort of content. So Izzy, I was just going to go straight in actually, and I first wanted to ask actually what drew you to running for Community and Wellbeing Officer?
So probably the main thing that drew me to running for Community and Wellbeing was that I've worked in USU networks sort of since I've started at university. I spent my first year as social sec for the Women and Non-Binary Network, which I'm the officer for now. And I've had a lot of experience sort of I've seen two different community wellbeing officers in my time, and I've seen sort of the different approaches that they've both had, and I just thought, you know, I think I would also have quite a different approach to it, and it would be interesting to see how that would affect the student body here. So that's kind of the main reason that drew me to run in. Yeah,
okay. So you've mentioned actually in your manifesto issues within university sports teams regarding trans and non-binary inclusion in sports, and you've pledged to fight for like equal access in these opportunities for everyone. So what specifically did you have in mind for this sort of?
So the main issue that I have found from it wasn't something that I was aware of until about 2 or 3 months ago, was that Bucks, which is the group that we compete in under, and all of the British universities and colleges do, they have a trans inclusion policy. I say that with air quotes because it isn't massively inclusive. And it means that trans students who aren't undergoing hormonal treatment to kind of have them in accordance with their self-identified gender, it means that they can't compete, and it makes it a lot more difficult for them to compete, and that just isn't fair, because I think York as a community have a massive sort of sports. It's very sports heavy, you know. We have Roses, we have varsity, and it's a huge thing that we've kind of got here, and it's a really great community that I think we've built up over a long time. But if everyone can't access that, then it's not a community, and it's not a community that I want to be a part of if not everybody can get involved in it. So yeah, that was kind of the first thing that sort of started ringing alarm bells for me. And my goal with that is to work with whoever is elected, because obviously Frankie will be heading out this year. It will be to work with whoever's elected to lobby Bucks into actually updating their trans inclusion policy to ensure that it isn't I don't know how they can have an exclusionary inclusion policy. It just feels like it's just really confusing, and looking at it from a non-binary person's perspective, you know, it feels really hurtful, because I mean, I don't do sport, but if I did, you know, I would want to be able to compete if I was good enough, and I know that there are probably students here that are good enough and they just feel like they can't because of these policies. So yeah, it's just not fair, and I think it sounds really childish to say, but it just isn't fair. And I think that is a massive sort of front runner for my manifesto, is that I want to change that, and I want to make sure that one of the biggest sort of bloodlines that we have at York, the sports element, is accessible to everyone, because Roses is a great time, and surely everybody should be able to get involved.
Thank you for that. So actually, in reference to obviously thinking of like sort of support networks for students just as a whole, obviously you mentioned about the unlimited self-certification being taken away recently, and how you would be working to reinstate that. Obviously that was only recently taken away. So what would you like, keeping that in mind, that probably didn't take, you know, that wasn't a light decision probably made. It's been there for a bit now. What sort of, how feasible do you think that would be?
I would say it was feasible. I think obviously the current SABs are doing a lot of work. I'm sure people have probably seen like the letters that they were sending off, and getting, you know, students to sign these letters and show how much self-certification actually meant to them, and seeing that influx really like just showed me kind of the range, you know what I mean, the amount of people that this issue was affecting. Because, I mean, even on a personal level, when it comes to exams and stuff, the stress can sometimes just get too much. And, it doesn't matter whether you have an underlying mental health issue or whether mental health has never affected you before. An exam can come up or something can come up and it can just knock you for six. And that's okay. Like, you shouldn't then have to think, oh my God, I've got 4,000 more words to do of this essay, and I've got my dissertation due, and I've got a group assignment, and there's so much to think about, and you should just be able to think, actually, I just want a day off. And I just want to look after myself. So just giving them a bit more of a break there. Yeah. So in terms of like, you've spoken about like, subsidizing. No, sorry. Spoken about, I'll go on to that in a minute, about student landlords reducing rent prices. Yes. How do you plan on incentivising these landlords to do so? Because obviously a lot of them have come back with things about their own prices having gone up as well, and sort of doing it in accordance to things like that. So yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I think one thing I have definitely shied away from is talking cost of living, because it's such a complex issue, and it is definitely something that I don't think anyone should be making promises about. Yeah. So I'd definitely try to be careful not to make any promises there. But I mean, in York, the issue is that we don't have enough houses, and also we can't afford, like, people can't afford to live in them. Mm-hmm. And, I know so many people on a personal level who are having to work like 2, 3, 4 jobs just to make ends meet. Yeah. And it's just not fair, is it? It's just not fair. So I think what I would do is just sort of, one incentive I can think of is probably that as the university starts to lower on-campus prices and we start to expand our on-campus accommodation, people are going to choose that option because it's going to be more financially efficient. Yeah. So that would be my incentive. You're going to lose money if you hike the prices any higher. Yeah. I don't know whether that'll work, but
Sorry, I want to get through a bit more, so I'll just move on from there. But okay, thank you for that. But yeah, something you highlighted was obviously focus on student support, and particularly with sensitive topics like sort of we've discussed at the start there, and you mentioned a development of a training program for all academic staff and things. I was just wondering, I guess, that obviously with a strain on staff already in other areas, and with the strikes going on right now as well, how do you think that this is something that can happen, and will staff be willing to take out more time to do things like this, do you think?
I think it depends on the staff, because I know from my department, I'm in the Department of Sociology, I've already spoken about this sort of plan with the head of sociology, and she's like well up for it. But obviously it does just depend on the staff, and it also depends on the academic department, because not every degree course is going to have sensitive topics to handle, so it wouldn't be a strain on all of the staff, but it would be a massive strain. I do understand that, and I think the main point is getting to the issues quickly, not dilly-dallying, no messing around, just sort of getting straight to the heart of the problem, and just going, this isn't okay, get rid of that, and then just sort of almost rebuilding. And it will take time. It's not something that's going to be able to be done in a 9-to-5 day, but 2 hours a week, 1 hour a week, it sounds like a lot, but once you really get into it, and it shows that it is going to improve student learning.
Broken up, sort of, spread
like
out,
over
not
a
too
long
intense.
time.
Okay,
and it's going to improve student learning in the long run. So I think once it's kind of explained like that, it might make more sense.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. So you did also talk about normalising, along with that strand of like conversation, opening things up, the importance of sexual health conversations in particular. And obviously you, Sue, currently work with your sexual health, with providing free sexual health supplies. What sort of things would you be planning to implement to encourage conversations as such?
So I think the free, the free condoms, pregnancy tests, STD tests are a great step. I think one thing I would say is that they do need to be advertised a lot more, because I didn't know about them until this year, and I'm in my 3rd year now. Okay. So it is a case of we just need to push that narrative more. Something that I have done this year, which has been an absolute testament to the people involved, was doing the I'm trying to remember all the words now. It's called the SSAFG, which was a sort of focus. It was a collaboration with UOY, Speak Free Society, E&E, RAG, Women and Non-Binary. It was a whole massive collaboration, and we basically developed an inclusive, well-rounded, beautiful piece of like an information pack, essentially.
I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off there. Thank you so much. We're just going to have to cut you off to the next studio for the next interview, but thank you very much for that interview.
Thank you so much.